trees were a lot smaller. It was much more open. We walked in here on a spring day and prairie warblers were singing, which are the most abundant breeding bird, second most abundant breeding bird in the Pine Barrens. And I thought, gee, this is a kind of funny place in Union County. It's kind of Pine Barrensy. That's, you know, and it's lovely. I use the word lovely because my wife Hazel is from Scotland and I say things like that now. You know, my friends from New Jersey, lovely? What are you, something wrong with you? Anyway, it's lovely. So then, can't remember exactly why, but we started coming here every once in a while to just like sort of look at it. And then New York Botanical Garden started doing surveys for us for free in the Pine Barrens. And then one day I said to the guy from New York Botanical Garden, Kerry Barringer, hey, why don't you and Gary Moore, fabulous Pine Barrens botanists, why don't you come over here and take a look at this place, because it's got some funny feel to it. And so they came here. Oh, I remember what happened. I was at the bombing range in Warren Grove a few years ago in the Pine Barrens, where the Air Force bombs everything and starts fires, and there's all the rare species of the Pine Barrens are there because they bombed the hell out of it and burned the hell out of it. And the day I was there, this plant was in flower at the Warren Grove bombing range. Blue curls. See these tiny little blue flowers right here? This is a sand plant. Only grows on sand. This is blue curls. Now, it's not restricted to the Pine Barrens. It grows anywhere in New Jersey on sand. That's sand that's been sand for a long time. I don't mean sand that a guy dumps from a pickup truck. I mean natural sand habitats. So I came here and I saw this blue curls and I went, oh my goodness gracious, look at all this blue curls. It's like the Pine Barrens. This was about 3 years ago, I think. And then that's when I called Kerry Barringer and Gary Moore and I said, you guys got to come and look at this place. And they came and looked at the place and they found a selection of species that about 3 or 4 species that have never been found off of the coastal plain before in New Jersey. The coastal plain starts on the other side of, sort of like at Cheesequake State Park. That's the intercoastal plain. The outer coastal plain starts on the other side of Atlantic Highlands and runs from the Navesink River and Red Bank all the way down to south of Camden at the other Red Bank. There's a Red Bank at either end of New Jersey by the Navesink River, Red Bank. There's also Red Bank and National Park, 2 little tiny communities just south of Camden on the Delaware River. And that's the dividing line where the red ironstone rock sticks out of New Jersey between the intercoastal plain and the outer coastal plain. And so there are many plants that have never been found past that line coming in this direction because they're outer coastal plain plants. They live on dry, nutrient-poor sands. They're here, some of those plants. There's only way they could be here is if this has been sand since the end of the Ice Age and maintained by Native Americans. And we know it's a fabulous archaeological site. There's arrowheads all over the place in here. Joe Arsenault documented them in our Red Hill report, right? And other people have done archaeological work here for years. Right, it's a prehistoric site. So since the end of the Ice Age, this place has been maintained as an open area by people. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, we haven't necessarily decided exactly what level of openness to maintain this place at.
Excuse me, Neil.
Yeah.
When getting back to the species of plants, tentative, but there may be a new species of Amanita mushroom discovered here. I took one to Amanita expert of the Northeast a few days ago. He looked at it for about 10 minutes. He said, maybe this is the same one I've once seen in North Carolina, but I think it's a new species.
Well, and that could easily be. The mushroom group has been working in the Pine Barrens too on the Parker Preserve, and I think they have a new species too. And they found lots of new species to New Jersey because the sand habitats are not well understood. So this place is a biological treasure house of rarity, and its enemy is trees. Now, the first thing we got to do is get rid of all the pines, because pines are not native here. There's Scots pine, which is dispersing from people's yards, and then there's a Scots pine right there. Then there's white pine that's also dispersing people's yards. White pine is not native to this part of New Jersey. It's just you know, it's native to North Jersey. It's not native here. It needs to be gone. The pines will consume this place because they love sand, and there's no fire anymore because there's no Native Americans, and the pines will take over. Ideally, the ideal thing to do here, right, would be to get a brush hog and cut it up into 4 pieces, and into 4 pie pieces, and burn the hell out of each pie piece every year in a rotating schedule. Getting, you know,
It's not going to happen.
all the people that need to say okay to that, is very difficult. We could work on that for the long term, but in the meantime, we have to get rid of the pines at least, and then probably start to thin out the deciduous trees. They grow a lot slower. We have more time on them. And then we have to be careful because there's some shrubs that we don't want to get rid of, like the bayberry that's right there underneath those trees, those evergreen low shrubs. So we have coastal plain plants here that we want to encourage. Let me just see, I know there was right here the rare eupatorium somewhere. Let me see if I see it. This might be it right here, but I'm not sure. This might be there's one species in here that is not just a coastal plain endemic, but was previously thought of as a pine barrens endemic, which means it's never been found outside the New Jersey pine barrens in New Jersey. And the finding that here has, you know, has all sorts of people scratching their head, because it's just incredible that pine barrens conditions could have been created and maintained by Native Americans on this hill for 12,000 years. So,
didn't want to interrupt your sentence, but I had a question for you. Well, getting rid of all the...
I gotta just tell this guy I'm gonna call him back. Hey Vin, I'll call you back in a few minutes. Okay.
You said getting rid of all the pines. On our tour last year, didn't you say there was a certain pine here that was only outside of the pine barrens? Didn't you want to... I forget which one it was. A dwarf pine, maybe?
If we were to find a pitch pine here, that would be different.
Okay.
I don't think they've been found here yet.
Okay.
If we were to find pitch pine here, then we would leave pitch pine and manage for it. But what we need to be doing is every pine, like these Scotch pines, that's too hard to kill. I mean, pull out. Some of the seedlings, you can just pull them out of the ground, and the disturbance of the sand is good for all these sand plants. So it's no problem yanking stuff out of the ground and disturbing the sand. If you can't pull them out of the ground, you got to just lop them. And
maybe dig? No?
Digging, yeah, I did it probably last year as a demonstration.
Should have brought the weed
But
knife.
you see that the main thing to do is just, right now, is just lop them so that they're not casting shade.
Okay, then we got the big one over there.
The big ones,
we gird it. We gird it. Is that the one you?
Yeah, if you have tools to girdle it.
Yeah, well, we do have a chainsaw that we can come back
Or
and
you can
do
come
that
back
job and
girdle everything.
Girdle
It's
it,
probably
yeah.
better to leave them
How-
standing.
yeah.
You take the bark off about this
How much do you
wide
take
all the
off?
way around? Or
I would make like 3 deeper cuts rather than try and peel off
Yeah,
all that
yeah,
bark.
yeah.
That's hard.
Okay,
I would just
go
try
in,
to make
just
3 deep cuts, and in about an area about of a foot, make a cut 6 inches, make another cut, and make
Okay.
another cut, and cut in
Cut
a
in
good
good,
half inch
okay.
to make sure you're
Okay.
right through the
waste time.
cambium.
And
Height
then-
doesn't mean anything.
And then it'll die slowly and provide habitat. while
That's
it's
right.
dying.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
okay.
could get
In a
red-headed
place like
woodpeckers
this,
here.
that's
Yeah, okay.
We
all
could
right.
get red-headed woodpeckers
Okay.
here if we have cavities.
Okay.
You know, eventually in the long run, if too many of these things resprout,
Mhm.
then, you know, once we have it a little bit more under control, we could always come in with a paintbrush and some Garlon and just go, you know,
Herbicide.
just in very, very minute applications.
I noticed you, or someone tagged a lot of these with ribbons. Should we pay attention to those?
I don't know. I can't remember. We might have just we did like an informational walk at one point, and we might have just put some ribbons to say this is the species
Oh,
that's
okay.
you know.
So don't worry about it.
It's just
So-
the pines,
so-
all pines.
Got it.
So for today, we're going to work on the pines and do what we can.
Yeah,
Just
pull everything out, lop
anything
everything
else?
off.
Okay, do we put the pines in a plastic bag?
No,
Just
no.
leave them to...
Just throw them on the
There's
ground.
no cones. so
No,
that's all.
decompose it.
Yeah,
becomes
and they'll
part of that.
acidify. Pine litter is good
Yeah.
as an acidifier, which these plants love anyway. So this may be the Pine Barrens endemic right here. I'm just not good enough at telling the different species apart, but there is an incredibly rare Pine Barrens endemic. There's also a coastal plain goldenrod, which is this right here. Looks like the flowers aren't doing too well this year. This is one of the rare plants right here, this coastal plain goldenrod. They're just
And what makes it coastal I mean,
well, there's dozens and
identification
dozens of species of
characteristics?
goldenrod, but this species is supposed to be on the coastal plain.
This is the way it comes out of the
Well, it's
top.
yeah, that particular
I mean,
species. I can't tell you why it's
Okay.
what species it is, but it's all in the Red Hill report.